Welcome to Varsity Voices. I'm Jeff DiVeronica. He's James Johnson. We heard you missed us. We're back. It's been a few weeks since the end of the fall season, and we're here to talk about All-Greater Rochester, our fall edition, coming out this week in the Democrat and Chronicle online, dnc.com, and of course in the print edition this week also. James, we're here to talk about like a little history lesson on what All-Greater Rochester is, how we pick the teams, which apparently people think is somewhat a mystery. We're pretty transparent in how we do it. We used to run in the newspaper those little boxes. Here's how we pick the team.
Yeah.
Apparently no one read that or they forgot about it. So AGR goes way back, right? How long does this go back?
I've seen similar teams. It may not have been called All-Greater Rochester, but I think they were called All-Scholastic teams maybe in newspapers back in the 1940s.
50s and 60s.
Yeah, definitely the 50s and 60s. So.
And I know when there was the Rochester Times-Union and the Democrat and Chronicle, the Times-Union had its Super 22 team, that's what they called it. And the DNC always had All-Greater Rochester. All-Greater Rochester always been the DNC brand. Mm-hmm. So, and then eventually when the Times-Union stopped publishing, it just became All-Greater Rochester. We used to put in Super 22 because some of our former colleagues that worked for the Times-Union, we just appeased them with that. But we have control now. But anyway, so All-Greater Rochester, when I've been here since like 1994, 95. I've been doing it all. I mean, I remember the first year I picked All-Greater Rochester soccer teams.
Yeah.
The players of the year, get this, Abby Wambach, a sophomore, and Dima Kovalenko, who was a senior for Greece Arcadia at the time and went on to have like a 10-year career in Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
So that was quite an indoctrination for the first AGR teams I picked.
Yeah, that's one of the most exciting things about it is that, you know, we're watching kind of careers start. You know, not all of them, maybe none of them will end up being a Hall of Fame type career or someone on the level of Abby Wambach, but it's still exciting to kind of watch people chase their dreams.
So somebody about 10 years ago here at the Democrat Chronicle said, wait a minute, we only do 5 AGR teams. We do football in the fall, boys and girls soccer in the fall, and then boys and girls basketball in the winter. Why don't we do every sport? And we said, okay, people seem to like it, let's do it.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of branched out from there.
It's why we're talking about this now in mid-December versus, you know, AGR teams used to come out right before Thanksgiving. But obviously when you process more than 170 athletes being honored, 11 or more than that coaches of the year, we have to get the photos of each player, we have to get bio information on each player. It takes a little while to do that. So, but let's talk about the process. Now, how do we pick the AGR teams, James? Let's go through what our phone calls are sometimes to the folks who call in and say, well, why didn't my kid get picked? What's our process?
I mean, basically, when I go out to games during the seasons, I kind of keep an eye on, you know, people who might be candidates to make the team. I talk to other coaches, I talk to players. I just kind of spend the whole season gathering information. I watch for big matchups, how those players perform, or athletes, I should say, perform in their important contests. And, you know, again, I talk to more people. Did you see what so-and-so did against such and such? And
now, so we're using our own eyes and our own ears, talking to the coaches and seeing what we see all season long. But then we call this is really a coach-driven team. I mean, the coaches, you are our eyes and ears, right? We say that all the time. So we send out, all the coaches get a ballot. Now, whether it's on the sports site or we send them a ballot, they get a vote in this. So coaches then return the ballots to us.
Yeah.
And some of you need to do a better job of that, let's be honest. You know who you are. So then they vote on the 16 best soccer players for boys soccer. And we ask them to be as objective as possible and to include players that they've seen that they know are really good from their league, another league, whoever they think is deserving. Maybe they know that Maddie Lowe from Webster Schrader is going to Ohio State, and maybe they didn't see Maddie Lowe play this year, but she's going to Ohio State, and she's a really good player.
Right.
She should be on that list, right?
Right.
Some coaches don't put all the players. Some coaches turn in a ballot with like for soccer, we have 16 slots, right? Some coaches will turn in a ballot with like 4 slots filled out. That's really not what we're going after here. And that's doing a disservice, I think, to the other players around the area that they're not voting for.
I say, you know, go ahead and fill it out all the way, even if it doesn't include the superstars that you haven't seen. it helps.
Aren't there 16 good players in your league?
Right. There's a trickle-down effect. We have to deliberate about second teams and honorable mention lists. And
so they send in their ballots. We then count them up, and we literally go through every one with a pad and paper and count them up. And usually I'd say 75 to 80% of the team, it's pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
Right? And there's not a lot of guesswork there.
Yeah.
Like out of it, traditionally for a soccer team, 16 slots, I'd say 12 to 13, usually we call them no-brainers. Right? We'll go into our room, these are our no-brainers.
Yeah.
And then you have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah. Another good example of that is that powerhouse Aquinas football team. They had some players clearly deserved to be on the team, and for the most part,
which one? Which Aquinas powerhouse?
Oh, I'm sorry. This
2015.
Yeah, their last state championship.
Because they've had a few.
Yeah, I mean they're not the most popular program or school in the area, but coaches do 9 out of 10.
Let's be honest. Also, some of you public school coaches, sadly, you don't vote for a private school kid. I find that disappointing. I think you're hurting the kid. And we've said this before.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to make this too opinionated, but we're here and we're talking, so let's say it. You're hurting the kid. And Section 5 has allowed the private schools in. So why don't you be fair to the kid? I get it. You don't like the private schools winning in the public school tournament. Well, take it up with Section 5. Don't take it out on these kids that don't get votes. So we do factor in sometimes the private school bias.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a kid that makes the AGR team that didn't have enough votes, but we know he's good enough, we've seen them with our own eyes, and we kind of trump the coach's vote.
Yeah.
So back to the process.
Yeah,
so we might have 8 kids vying for the final 4 slots.
Correct.
We look at sometimes the level of competition they've played,
right?
How much success did their team have?
What other coaches are saying about them within the league? Why would someone in Livonia have someone from the city of Rochester on their ballot? Things like that.
And even conversely, so why would a Monroe County coach have this kid from Wayne County on the ballot?
Correct.
That speaks volumes to us a little bit.
Correct.
But we don't try to factor in what year a kid is in school.
Not for the most part.
If a 10th grader is good enough, to be on this team. I don't say, well, let's give it to the senior. Because what happens if the 10th grader gets hurt and the 10th grader never comes back to the level of competition and ability to make All-Greater Rochester? Is that fair to the kid? So I try to not ever look at what year they are in school. Sometimes I do. If I get down to the last few spots, if it's an 8th grader and a senior, I try to make another phone call and ask the coach, hey, is this 8th grader really deserving? So it's a process, and it's not an exact science. Let's be honest. I like to always say if we pick a first and second team in soccer, there's 32.
Yeah.
In football, there's 50.
I say the same thing.
We get the top 32 of the top 50. I think we really always do that. Now, does the 17th kid in the soccer team, maybe that kid deserved it over the 16th kid? Maybe. But I'm telling you, we check our boxes and try to get as much feedback. I look at some ballots of coaches that I know the area and are objective. And I call those my power ballots. Mm-hmm. This is as transparent as I've ever been about this.
Oh, yeah.
And if a kid makes it onto the power ballot, that might mean that if I got 2 kids tied at 12 votes apiece, maybe if this kid appeared on 5 power ballots and only on 3, the other one only appeared on 3 power ballots, maybe that kid gets the slot, the kid with the 5. So it's a process, and we take a lot of pride in this. But we have people that don't. It's a great honor for those that make it. We are very proud of that. But we have people that don't agree with our opinions and who we select. And I try to tell them that we do our best. We work hard at this. We take pride in it. And if we're sorry that they're disappointed, I've never ever once wanted to disappoint a kid. That's not what I like doing, right?
Right.
But it happens. It's life. And if this is the worst thing that happens to them, they're going to have a great life.
I think so.
And we've heard stories of kids who use it as motivation, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's people who made it to the NFL and were not first team All-Greater Rochester. And they come back and they remind us of that.
They do. And some of our colleagues will say, wait a minute, I'm writing about this kid and he's in the NFL. He didn't make AGR.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. We almost kind of like that.
Late bloomer. Right? So we get the ballots, we select the teams, we call them all. We call the coaches. We call some. I like to give the honor to the coach to call the athlete and say, "Hey, you got picked for AGR." I always like that.
I do too.
And one of the best parts of my job is to call a coach and say, "Congratulations, you're our coach of the year." So that's just, I've always liked doing that. That's always a special moment. That balances out some of the phone calls or emails we get saying, "I don't understand why this happened. My kid didn't make it." So then through the great teamwork we have at the Democratic Chronicle, we have to get pictures of all these athletes, coaches, and we bring them in here on picture night. And this year we had, I believe, over 160 athletes through the doors in a 3-hour span.
Yes.
With our photographers, our videographers, our producers, and us, and our greeters trying to get in. And they got to fill out a form, the capsule information. So it's quite a process. We take all information, get their pictures, and then we write Player of the Year stories. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but we're glad the public likes it, aren't we?
Absolutely. The days that these sections come out, they're very highly anticipated days. So.
Yeah. So as far as we know, Friday on newsstands, the print edition, and on Thursday at DemocratandChronicle.com, we'll be rolling these out. A little Christmas gift for all you folks out there in Christmas week. So fall. Let's just run this down and we'll wrap. All right. Here are your fall teams. Boys soccer, girls soccer, there's 11 of them. Boys cross country, girls cross country, football, girls tennis. I'm out of breath. Why don't you pick it up?
Girls golf, girls volleyball, boys volleyball, field hockey, and girls swimming.
Congrats to all the athletes that made All-Greater Rochester, to our Players of the Year and our Coach of the Year. Thanks to the coaches who voted, and we appreciate your cooperation. Those who didn't, come on, don't do this to the kids. Do it for the kids. Anything else you want to add, partner?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, everybody have a great holiday season. We'll talk to you again. Maybe next week, probably the new year. We'll see. We like to keep you on the edge of your seat. For James Johnson, I'm Jeff DiVeronica. Have a great holiday week and a great rest of the week. Thanks for watching us here at DemocratandChronicle.com on Varsity Voices.